Hello. Okay, so far I have been talking about what it is to live an inspired life. I have surrendered my plans, my ideas, and all of those things to what I believe is a greater intelligence. That I think has so many different words. Religions are based on it. There's a million things you can call it. I'm going to call it inspiration. I'm surrendered to inspiration. And I feel like that's the word I choose because I think everyone can relate to that. I work with a lot of artists and they rely on inspiration in order to create something from nothing. And it's not just for artists, it's for every single person because we're all here to bring our unique selves into the world, to bring our unique gifts into the world, to use all of them to create and to live a life that we want to live, that is made for us to live. And sometimes to do that, we need to put down our own plans. We need to put down our own ideas, and we need to open up to the greater ones. So my definition for inspiration is an infusion of a grand, exciting, bigger than us idea, and it is impressed upon our mind, our soul, our spirit, upon the part of ourself that is invisible, but that we feel in our gut. That it might start as a really small seed, and we trust that it's going to grow. We trust that as we water it with our recognition, with our acknowledgement that it's there, that it'll become what it's meant to become. That leads to the second step that I want to talk about. And I'm going to call this step perspiration because I like the idea of flowing between inspiration and perspiration. It sounds awesome. But my definition for perspiration is a little different than the typical definition, which in essence means sweating. So my definition of perspiration the act of moving forward with the inspired thought or idea that we were just talking about that came from inspiration, from that place of being open and having that new thing, that new plan, that new idea, whatever it might be, placed on our soul. That can be scary to move forward with something that might be completely illogical, or it might have nothing to do with our life in the moment that we feel to move forward with this idea. It might and probably will require a huge risk. It might require just blind faith. And so it can be very hard moving from inspiration to perspiration. So this is the infinity cycle of perspiration and inspiration. So I feel like we need to move. The best way to live is moving between the two. Now, this point right here, this is the part I'm going to call the challenge point. Why is it the challenge point? Because it requires overcoming all the things that have built up within us called resistance. Resistance can look a few different ways. It can look like the fear of failure. Basically, it boils down to fear. The fear of this inspired idea not happening. The fear of losing everything that we've built in order to grab onto something that doesn't exist yet. There's a lot of different fears that we can suffer from that can cause us to feel challenged at the point when we move from inspiration to perspiration. But here's the problem. Inspiration alone equals failure. Perspiration alone equals failure. You can perspire and work hard your entire life, but if what you're doing doesn't come from a deeper place within yourself, if it doesn't come from your true face, that part of ourself that incorporates all of us, if it's just coming from the part of us that wants to survive, the part of us that wants to make money, the part of us that feels like we're supposed to work because society does a really good job of making us feel that way. If it's just coming from those parts, it's not going to give us the happiness and fulfillment that we deserve in this life, that we're all entitled to. In inspiration alone, this is the one that I'm best at. I can be inspired all day long. I can meditate, do all these different things to open myself up to this place of inspiration. My challenge has been, when I get the inspiration, to move into perspiration because of all these fears that we've discussed. So I've learned that the best way to overcome this challenge point that I'm referring to move from an inspired idea to practical steps of making it real, is to start as soon as you feel inspired. Write it down. Don't let the idea pass you by, because sometimes a moment of inspiration can last like 2 seconds and then it's gone. Elizabeth Gilbert talks about that in her magic lessons, how easy it is for an idea to come and to leave. We don't know how long the idea is going to wait. We don't know how long the inspiration is going to last. So the best thing for us to do in that case, as I've found, is to move forward in some way, whether that's writing it in your journal or making a grand gesture in your life. Do something when you feel inspired.